Right, let's try that again. Sorry, internet died. Okay, so welcome to the last flight I'm doing that will take me over to Norway for the start of my Norway sceneries tour. So you may have heard me talk on stream before. I did a UK 2000, so that's the freeware. Oh, go away. Oh, Symantec, worst bit of software ever. I did a UK 2000 tour, which is was a tour of all the freeware sceneries in the UK 2000 collection for FSX and P3D, and you can see it here. Went all the way around the country, all the way down to Jersey, you know, up to Aberdeen, Isle of Man, yada yada yada, and it was awesome fun. Really enjoyed that, and I flew it, of course, in the rather lovely Spitfire Mark 1. Absolutely stunning bit of kit this is. So we're going to do the same thing, but for the Norway freeware sceneries. Now unfortunately I didn't stream the UK one because it was before I really got into streaming, which is really annoying. So I will have to do that again at some point. I'm thinking about doing it again, but in something a little bit bigger, maybe like a Crash 8 or something. Excuse me. But the Norway one, we'll stick with the Spitfire. It's a little bit further, so there's going to be some longer legs. It's going to take a while to get round all of there. Don't forget that this is not quite what it seems, because we're getting quite north now. So distance isn't linear, so you know a centimetre here isn't actually the same distance as a centimetre here, but not to worry about that. Now I've already started the pre-positioning offline, so I flew out from Southend, flew up past The Hague, Rotterdam, so on and so forth. In fact, no, I actually flew down from Doncaster, didn't I? Oh, it was East Midlands. It was East Midlands. Came across it, dropped across and flew into Den Helder. And then yesterday I flew, well, we actually almost didn't get down at Den Helder because the weather was absolutely terrible. And then yesterday I flew along here, up into the north side of Germany, and then up through the middle of Denmark, up to Karup, where there is a military air base there, and that's where I currently sit in terms of where we are. Now this leg is going to be reasonably short. You can see Karup is here, so sort of central north-ish Denmark, and we're going to fly out into Kristiansand or Kristiansand. My pronunciation of all things Nordic is going to be cringeworthy, so I do apologise in advance to anyone who is of a knowledgeable origin of how to pronounce stuff like that. It certainly is not me. Now I'm going to load up Active Sky. I have changed the time so that it is daytime because we are flying VFR, of course. Being in the Spitfire, although we can do IFR. I did in the UK tour have to do some IFR around the London TMA, which was interesting to say the least, and I'll explain to you why that's particularly interesting very shortly. So let's have a look-see. Oh, first of all, let me change the details on the stream here. So I want to go like that, and I want to do that. So that's that updated. The aircraft is the Spitfire Mark 1A. Mark 1A, I said. Thank you kindly. Oh, let's move that across so it's on there. And need to load up stream labels, Streamlabs 2. So there we are. Right, well, that's all loading in. Happy days. Okay, so it's very much VFR here. So we're going to be flying north out of Karup, well, slightly off north actually, about 5 degrees, or 4 degrees actually to be precise, because I've planned this properly. And we will overfly Skive airfield, or Skiva, I'm not, again, I've no idea. We'll turn left to approximately 232 degrees, and then we will overfly Morso. And then turn right to 347 up to Thisted, and then that is going to be our departure point out into the sea north of Denmark, and we'll be flying on a heading there, and hopefully we will then be able to spot Kristiansand, or at least the sort of estuary-ish type area, and then be able to find our way in there. So I won't be cheating using Plan G, so we will try and find it doing proper VFR, which is, you know, sort of the point. So, right, we need to load up vPilot, because I am doing this online. So, connect. There we are, and we're in, and then we are going to go EKTS. So our route is quite simply EKTS. So with VFR EKKA to Kristiansand ENCN, and our alternative is EKTS, which is our departure out into the sea. Leave that as is. File flight plan. There we are. Excellent. So, right, let's get this puppy started up before we run out of B8 to res. So, mixture's going fully rich. Props going feathered. Mode contactor can come on, fuel pump can come on, brakes can be held, starter can be turned. And that's running a bit sad, isn't it? There we are. So let's have a... Whoa! The blindness. So let's try it again. So here she is. Here is the absolute beauty that is the Spitfire, of course. This is the one off Steam. I think it's Vitavia, the developer for this. Is it Vitavia? Please someone correct me if I'm wrong there. It is excellent to fly. It is so much fun to fly this aircraft. It really is absolutely gorgeous. So that's there like that. Let's just check that spy to make sure we have actually connected. Yes, there we are. Oh, and we're creeping a bit. Okay. We're going to go to Unicom, which is 122.8. Oh, bugger. .com1. Oh, my keyboard's doing the thing again. Oh, I need to get a new keyboard. Now, it's quite hard tuning the radio on this because, of course, this is all set up for it being analog. Oh, see, I really want it. Dot. Yeah, the O isn't working. Arrgh. Oh, there. .com 1122.8. Yeah, it works. There we go. Right, so we're on the Unicom madness. Now the weather here looks pretty pants for VFR, so we might not. Well, no, we won't be reaching flight level 135. But nevertheless. Power! 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 We love a bit of power. Try and keep it straight. There's lots of torque steer. Lots of torque steer there. And up we go. We're airborne. Positive rate gear up. You can see the gear coming up, and the little indicators there. And we're going to immediately turn north. And I'm going to drop the engine RPM down to 2600. I'm going to pull the mixture back, and I'm going to bring the boost back into the green. So over to Skive, or no, not Skive. Yeah, Skive. So that's about 4 degrees. Now I haven't bothered accounting for wind because I didn't have time to set it up and I couldn't be bothered. So we are purely going proper VFR here. So just getting trimmed out. You have to have a lot of nose down trim on this aircraft, I've found. So we're about 4 degrees there. It's 15 miles, so it's you know, it's not next door. But I mean, just how good does that aircraft look? I mean, seriously. And being the old one, it doesn't like going inverted. You hear the engine struggling then. But as long as you're quick, you can get away with it. Doesn't like negative G at all. So we're maintaining altitude below the cloud base here. I'm just going to check my Snapchat. Alright, bloody hell. Alright, nothing important. Okay. Get back to those guys shortly. And there we are, showing up on that spy. Let's see if I can show you here. Center screen. There it is. There we are. Out of Denmark, heading up to Kristiansand, or whatever you want to call it. So I'm just watching this heading. We're just drifting off a touch. Now I know from the map that when we hit water, it's on the sort of start of a little peninsula, and I think that is this coming up here. So it comes round there, it comes round here. Yeah, it is. Skive should be down there somewhere. Oh, there it is. You can see the airfield there. So we are going to turn to overfly it because the bearings are calculated based upon actually being at the position that you're aiming for. I'll tell you what, I know what we're going to do. Because we're in the spit, obviously, we've got to put in a bit of a show for these guys. This is risky flying like this because I don't know if my pitch is any good. I'm going to end up slamming into the ground. Look at that. Oh, wowzers. Oh, that is so good. And that's why we trim the aircraft. Flipping heck. Right, so left to 323 degrees. Oh, overshot that a bit. 323. That's pretty good. That's more or less what the runway heading was. I should have probably checked that before I started turning, shouldn't I? So 323, assuming no wind, and that I can see from the track puts us, can't quite see it, but we're just skimming the left edge of this little island here, so I know that we're roughly on course there. And we are going to overfly a town once we get over this landmass and back over another sort of fjord, I guess. I don't know what you would call them. So we're chugging along here. What, 270 miles an hour? Which, according to VATSPI, is a ground speed of about 240 knots. So below the 250, so we're alright. Not that I would care too much anyway, but you know, it's always nice to be the right side of the law. Just going to reduce the boost a touch to 4, and then just bring that down. Oh, might have leaned that out a bit too much. Struggling a bit. Is it cold? It certainly looks cold. The engine's definitely struggling a touch. I might just bring the RPM up just to give it a bit more momentum. I don't want to go full rich because I'm not entirely sure. I've got a huge amount of fuel. And we just drifted off course a bit there. It's 315, we want to be 323. But again, looking at the map, I can see this little island here, and we're well off to the left of that, which is what we want to do, to the extent that this is the little residential area that we fly over, and the airfield's here somewhere. So I'm not looking at any maps. Well, I've got VATSPI, but I mean VATSPI doesn't really tell me a great deal. We're in Denmark. That's pretty much as good as VATSPI is, but I haven't got any sort of moving map with my position on it, and terrain and ground stuff like that. But I do have a map, and I know roughly where we are. Well, I know exactly where we are actually, and where we're going. So that's how we can do our VFRE stuff. So if I take a look out here, we've got this little alcove there. Yeah, that's looking good. And we overfly this bit here. So I'm hoping the airfield's down there somewhere. There it is, I can see it. So that is EKNM, which is more so. And from there, we're going to turn on a course of 347. So there's the airfield right on the nose. So 347 when we overfly there. That'll take us to the edge of Denmark, which I think is just there actually. It's not very far. Denmark's not big actually. And then we go over the sea for 71 miles. So there's the negative G, having a bit of a wobble. Let's do another nice little flyby here. Speeding up, going nice and fast here to show off. And out of here, 347 degrees, so let's do that. Let's kick the rudder up into a bit of a chandelle. That takes us north, which should correct for the little bit of error, and then back to 347. It was, wasn't it? 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hang on, we'll get there. I'm going a bit quick here, so I need to get on that heading reasonably quickly before we lose it. Now we should have a little residential area down here somewhere, which can't really see. I've got Open Land Class Europe actually. Should be able to see that. Huh. This looks like default FSX, doesn't it? This doesn't look like Open Land Class. I might have to reinstall that. Now can we see these trim tabs? We can. Look at those trim tabs all the way up here. So we talked about trim tabs a little bit in the last, was it the last flight in the 7.0? So we're overflying. No, we're not. We're passing to the right of the residential area, which is actually here, going off the shape of the land. In fact, yeah, we can sort of start see it rendering in a bit of auto-gen, so let's put a modest effort in. Now this runway is going right to left. It's not going in a straight or parallel to our direction of flight. Should be able to see it reasonably soon. And I'm cheating by coming in the outside view, but what can you do when the scenery is this crap? You know, in real life you just do that and you'd be able to see it, but here it's not even rendered yet. So there it is there, it's just on the right. So I want to overfly there because we need to get our heading coming out of Thisted airfield pretty accurate. Now I know I'm not accounting for wind here, which is a bit of a stupid thing to do, but and we've cleared up. Oh look, blue sky. We might be able to climb up a touch. So yeah, we want to leave here bang on because for every degree we are off, it's going to be a mile in 10. So that can add up to a big error. 71 miles to get there, and if I flew it bob on accurate with no wind, you know, I could be quite a distance off. I could be 10 miles off when we get there, which is enough to maybe not be able to see the airfield actually, which would cause some interest. But because we got wind as well that I've not accounted for, and I can't quite fly bang on because, you know, it's just a directional gyro compass and it drifts. We do have a magnetic compass down here if I need it. Well, I should do, but it's just a faff to see, so I'm not really bothering too much. So the more accurate we can leave here, the more, or the lower our error will be getting there. So 3.5, so what's it, 342 degrees. So that's somewhere about there-ish. I'm going to power up, and we're going to climb up higher. Now the reason we want to climb up higher, we're going over sea, so it increases our glide range. We have oxygen in the Spitfire, so we can climb high, and we'll climb up to flight level 135. 29 and 9 are 2. So there we go, so we need to be on standard pressure. Or 1013 for UK, of course. It's annoying that the mouse over is in inches of mercury. I mean, the actual display is in millibars or hectopascals. Well, it's not overly obvious there. So we're climbing up. It's got a good rate of climb here, 2,000 feet a minute, and maintaining speed. So I mean, this thing does go up somewhat quick. So something to think about if you see me flying around, or anyone in the Spitfire for that matter, and you're controlling maybe, or you're trying to, you know, what's the word I'm looking for, deconflict, then just bear in mind that this thing can, you know, perform as well as most airliners. which is quite scary. Well, quite amazing actually. It's very quick. So, bit of vape niche. This will be the only stream for today because I'm off to my squadron with the Air Cadets this evening. Well, I might actually be online. Online as in on VATSIM, because I am teaching some of the cadets on the flight sim at squadron. Probably going to be looking at, well, depending on which cadets I get, we'll be looking at secondary control surfaces. And if I can get a decent aircraft, because they've got P3D, so it's not quite as easy, and I've forgot my memory stick to download a load of stuff. And we haven't bought any study level aircraft yet. I've only got the default P3D stuff. But if I can, I want to do some ILS with them and start introducing them to some nav. But we'll see how that goes. So we're up at 8,000 feet here on standard pressure. And we can do this because we've got good visibility, although I can see some clouds in front of us. So we will have to descend before we get there. If it gets too overcast, to comply with VFR rules. So we're still climbing quite nicely here. Still on a reasonably good heading. That's quite nice. We have a speedy birdie up to our top left somewhere. We might not be able to see him just yet. There he is. Speedbird 4 Victor Kilo, for some reason showing up as an Iberia. Not quite sure why that is. Oh, that's because I didn't trim properly, Simon. Sort your stuff out. Why is he showing up as an Iberia then? But he's going from London Heathrow to Oslo. And we do fly, well, we actually fly, yeah, we do go into Oslo as part of the tour. Should be reasonably early on because we'll go anti-clockwise around, I think. So there's flight level 100. And we can actually see now the coast of Norway. And I think I can see that little bay estuary type thing that I was on about. So another benefit of being high is that we can obviously see further if we miss our intended point. So let me show you Sky Vector again. Like doing this. So 342 out of there. So our error is going to be, you know, quite large. It's 71 miles, so we could miss this by quite a long way either side, and we don't know which side. Of course, Spitfire, well, the Mark 1 doesn't have any nav radio, so we can't just tune into one of these NDBs or the VOR. So what I'm looking for is this sort of bay area here, and if my scenery had loaded properly, we would be able to see this residential area there as well. But we'll fly into the bay and then we'll basically fly up the estuary and we should see the airfield there. So that's what I'm looking for, and I think it's here. I think I can see it there. So, as I mentioned before, not using Plan G, so I don't have a moving map or a GPS or anything like that. Purely looking out the window, which for this shouldn't be too bad. It was a bit more emotional coming across from Norfolk over to Holland, Netherlands, because well, Netherlands all looks the same on the west coast pretty much. It's lots of little dinky islands, much harder to visually spot. And well, the way I went, I think it was about 90 miles. So it was slightly longer than this as well. And I flew lower. I didn't get up. I didn't climb up to flight level 135 as we're doing here. So I mean, pretty much when we get to 135, we'll be descending not long after that. So turn the engine RPM up. There we go, and we can lean the engine as well, which gives us a nice power boost, because of course the air's a lot thinner up here, so we're pretty much flooding the engine before. Should have done that much earlier, my bad. So if you listen to the engine note here, if I go full rich, you can hear the engine's, you know, stuttering and put. And as I lean the mixture, so pull that mixture back, or forwards as it happens to be here, but that's up to about 50%, so we were at 100%, you actually gain power, which of course is contrary to when you're down on the ground. When you're more at sea level, you tend to get a power boost by richening the mixture, but at altitude you get it for leaning off. So we're almost at flight level 135. Don't forget we're VFR, hence why we're at a flight level that ends in 5. That's very important. You can't cruise at a rounded flight level if you VFR. It's just another mechanism to assist in separation. Yep, so you can see our heading here. We're going off that way, but this is the sort of estuary area here that I was pointing out, Sky Vector, and then that's it coming up here. That was the river. This will be the residential, the city. So we're going to fly up here, and I think the airfield's somewhere there. If I pull up Sky Vector again on my screen, which side of the river is it? So it's this river, and it's actually on the far side of this river. It's pretty much there somewhere. Oops. So that's where we're going to go. Ooh, what's happened to the engine sound? Oh, there we go. Oh, yeah, that's why you should trim the aircraft in cruise, you donkey. Not quite so important because we're VFR. And we've got absolutely no one for miles. Got a Thomas Cook coming up behind us, but he's reasonably far away, and he's also at cruise at 36,000, so I'm not going to worry too much about him. Level out at 125 here. Again, doesn't matter so much. It's not like IFR flying where you've got to be bob on your altitude all the time. You're VFR, so you know you're in charge of the aircraft, not the air traffic controller. Well, you're always primarily in charge of the aircraft, but to an extent, your responsibility for separation is removed from you in the first instance if you're IFR by air traffic control, assuming you're under air traffic service, of course, which you may not be, and you can't fly IFR outside of that. But we're VFR, so it means we can pretty much do whatever we want. obviously within the realms of the airspace we are in, but at the moment we're not in anybody's airspace. In fact, we actually will be now coming under Norway control, but there is no one on VATSIM, so what I should do really is descend below 3,500, and then that puts us outside of the airspace. So I'm going to start descending now. No, I can't quite see it, but I think the airfield's down sort of on the tip of the mouse here somewhere. And I think it's this bit that hasn't quite rendered yet. Let's see if I can get a weather report. Weather Echo November Charlie November. So obviously in real life you would be able to jump on the ATIS. So wind is 050 15 knots. Temperature -1, dew point -3, 1021 on the QNH. So we are going to be landing in the direction of travel at the moment, which is good. So we're coming in quick now. It's where the Spitfire really comes into its own with the speed. Love the speed. How very Clarkson. 352 knots here, ground speed. Yeah, for a prop. Piston engine prop as well. Spitfire, of course, one of the first aircraft to break the sound barrier. Obviously in a dive. It's quite a slippy aircraft, so it will take us a touch of time to slow down. And we can see puppy lights. That's good. That's good to know. So I'm going to pull the engine back here. I'm going to go full rich on the mixture. And I'm going to pull the throttle all the way back to idle. We are slowing down just about. We can use a little bit of a trick to slow down if we need to, which I can show you. So where it's you boot the rudder and you side slit the aircraft intentionally like this. So we're now flying sideways, and basically it presents the whole fuselage side on to the oncoming airflow and massively increases your drag. So you wouldn't do that unless you wanted to do that. And if you're doing a steep descent in a little prop plane, it says no Spitfire, whatever, doesn't really matter, then it's that's pretty good for that. So we need to bleed off to 160, so I'm just going to do that little trick here just to get us below 160. Straighten us up, flaps down, gear down, looking for the 2 pins here and here. And now the flaps are down. It's like hitting a brick wall with this aircraft. So we can come up on the sense line, just adjust for the wind there. You can see the windsock on the left, so the wind is coming right to left. So I'm just going to bring the nose over to the rider touch. And coming down for a nice little touchdown here. Awesome. Now we're down, I'll bring the flaps up. Open the canopy. We'll lean the engine for taxi. Pull it back to about 50%-ish. I'm just listening more than anything to the sound of the engine. Leaving the prop fully course for now, just because we're on idle. And I don't want to underspeed the engine. Just dab of brake. brakes there, just being careful not to raise the tail too much, because if you slam the brakes right on, of course the aircraft will nose forwards, the tail will lift up off the ground, and you'll slam the prop into the floor. And it's a big prop on this thing, it's a stonking great big prop on this thing. And I'm pretty sure this hasn't loaded the scenery in either. So, offline I will do a little bit of jiggery pokery with my install and make sure that we've got the sceneries loaded in for the actual start of the tour. And the whole tour I am going to stream, and you're more than welcome to follow along if you wish. It's the Norway freeware scenery. If you just Google that, you'll find it. Some fantastic devs have been very generous and put that out as freeware. So obviously taxi and a tail dragger is a little bit emotional. A couple of little tricks is don't taxi on the centre of the taxiway. So here you can see I'm keeping the taxiway centre line in view. So if I can see it, I know where I am with respect to it. I'll tell you what, we are probably going to park up at the terminal here. In theory, what I should do is have that off on my right hand side, but I'm turning in here anyway and we've got no traffic, so I'm not overly bothered. That looks pretty good. That's the HD Airport pack by Rex, doing the lovely texture there. And a dab of the differential brakes, turn us into the wind. And parking brake can come on. Well, we'll do if I can, if my buttons will work, which they won't, so it'll stay off. And we can lean the mixture, we can coarsen the prop, feather the prop, lights off, battery off, and there we are parked up. Somehow a light is still on even though the battery's off, that's weird. And there it is. So, we are now in Kristiansand here. Successful little flight there from Karup. And we will start in the coming few days, not that one, the Norway tour. So actually I can tick this off straight away as, oh, I didn't want to do that. No, I didn't want to do that, did I? No, okay. It's, where is it? Netherlands, not that one. UK 2000, not that one. Airports of Norway, uniform style. Individual styles, that's what I want. And then that can go yellow to say we've been there, or we are there at the moment actually. And we'll come round, got a nice little hop round Oslo, that might be busy, and then all the way up the top of Norway. So that'll start in the next few days or so. But until then, if you have any questions and so on and so forth, put them in the comments below. If you want to follow along, please do. Obviously, if you're new to VATSIM, learn the rules, you know, and make sure you are flying sensibly, and we'll enjoy a fantastic tour of Norway. But until then, stay safe. See you later.